So you finally decided you got to change the filters on your RO. Well, this little guy has been leaking a little bit, so we're going to fix that. So number one thing is well, number one thing is you got to clean out the mess from underneath your sink. And if it looks anything like this one, well, good luck getting to the shut off. So that's number one, shut off. Okay, now that you got your mess cleaned out enough you can get back in there, there's the valve back there. So this one actually goes to the basement. The actual pressure tank and the filters are in the basement, but the shutoff is underneath the sink, so it's quick access. So anyways, make sure that is shut right off. Make sure that it's snug off because you don't want it leaking or dripping when you're changing the filter. So anyways, there you go. That's step number one, shutting the valve off, because you probably haven't shut that thing off since the day you bought your house. But if it does leak, well, then you're going to have to shut the main house water supply off, and then you can change it. Because sometimes they leak when you turn them off, but this one seems to be good. Okay, actually, if you want to make a step backwards here, you probably should order yourself the filters to go with this before you actually start the process, before you shut your water off. Because it could take 24 to 48 hours to receive one of these from either Amazon, or whether you go to Canadian Tire or Home Hardware or whatever store you go to, you may take a little bit to get it. So yeah, order your parts first, then shut your water off. So that's what I did. I actually ordered a kit. So it comes with the sediment filter, the carbon filter, and the RO filter for up in here. So anyways, yeah, that actually should be step number one. Then once you've ordered that, and you shut your water upstairs off, if your unit is indeed underneath your sink, like the shut off, but then this is down in the basement in this really old house. So you just turn that valve off, and then what you got to do is you got to check your water upstairs. So then you come upstairs and you turn that off and see how it's not dripping anymore. That means the pressure tank, your holding tank, is actually shut off. There's no more pressure in there. Well, there is pressure, but it's shut off. So anyways, you got to check that. And of course, make sure that that valve is shut off. So now that you got no water running out, you can go back and you can start the process of changing your filters. And one of the reasons why this filter system is in the basement is because it just takes up way too much room underneath your kitchen sink. You can actually put them underneath your kitchen sink, that's no problem. But just make sure, if you do actually install one of these, make sure that you follow the manufacturer's recommendation as to how far your piping can go. So anyways, there you go. I actually too, what happened is we put an extra shut off in line there. So if you ever wanted to shut it off there as well, so you can change your filters down here without going all the way upstairs to turn that one valve off. So that works as well. But in this case, most people don't do that. So yeah, there you go. Now you're ready to go. So one thing you're going to get yourself is one of these. I actually lost you can actually get a wrench when you buy the kit. It actually comes with a wrench, but somehow it's been lost. I don't know where it is. So one of these guys works really well. That's just for changing oil filters. So if you're like me, you got a little everything kicking around. So the other thing is too is when you do these, you're going to have a little bit of pressure on that. So some of these guys, as you can see, back in there, I don't know if you can see it, right back in there, there's a little button right there. If you can you see it? I don't know. There. That releases the pressure inside these cylinders. So if you just give that a little push like that, you might hear a little hiss sound. And that releases the pressure on these guys. So your first one's your sediment, and then your carbon. So, and make sure you know which way it goes in. Sometimes I mark these so I know when I do change. So I say this is the supply, and then this goes out. This goes back to the water upstairs. So anyways, yeah, just make sure you do the carbon, or sorry, that's the sediment and that's the carbon. So do your sediment first, and then do your carbon next. And see, there's actually a little button on that one too. So you can push them both. That releases any pressure. You almost could take these off by hand, but it's just so much easier if you have a wrench. So see, look how easy that is. Just turning that with that wrench was really easy, but trying to do it by hand There, we heard a little hissing. That's good. So it's releasing pressure. So anyways, yeah, and you can do the same with this guy and use your wrench and get them off. So you may find that when you're taking these off, they're pretty stiff. So sometimes you got to give them a little bit of a wiggle and get them off. Now, what you're going to do is see how that is full of water. Well, what I do is I put a little container underneath, because otherwise you're going to have water all over the place. You know, you can watch some videos online and they're perfect and no water goes anywhere, and sometimes I change them without water. We're real here. It gets messy. So anyways, yeah, make sure you put a little container underneath so you don't get water all over the place. So anyway, there you go. That's the next step. Okay, now that you got both your cylinders off, your casements for your filters, I'd recommend giving them a bit of a rinse. Take them and give them a hot water dip and clean them all out, because you probably haven't changed these since, you know, Noah got off the boat. But anyways, yeah, and sometimes you can take a brush and scrub inside. And I mean, some will recommend you can use a little bit of mild detergent in there to clean it out. Either way, if you do use a bit of detergent, make sure you clean it really well, because you don't want to be drinking that stuff. So even though we're going to talk about how to flush this thing a couple of times before you actually drink the water. So the other thing is, make sure you don't lose this O-ring right here, this big rubber ring, because that's what seals off the canister there. So, and you could even give this a bit of a wipe too, to, you know, clean off any you know, lime or calcium or whatever, any buildups. So anyways, now we're going to put in the filters. Okay, now we're going to start with the sediment filter first. So you'll get them in wrapped up like this. This keeps them clean and from getting debris on them when they're shipped to you. One thing that's super monumentally important that some people I've heard don't do or forget to do is there's a plastic wrap on that. You got to take that off, or else, you know, it's just not going to work. So anyways, I've seen it before. It's actually kind of funny. And no, I haven't done it. But yes, it has happened. So anyways, yep, you want to take that plastic wrap off, and then you're going to slide it inside your sediment canister. So here we go. Okay, now that you nicely got the plastic wrap off that, you're going to just sit it down inside your canister there. And what you're going to do is you want to make sure that when you put it up, make sure that it slides up inside, because there's a specific spot that has to go in there. And once you get it up there, you can just make sure it's seated. You'll feel it go a little bit snug. You'll feel it go up over that O-ring, and then you just want to give it a hand tight. That's all you got to do, because it can only go so far. See, it can only go that far. So you don't put a wrench or anything on it. There's no point. It's useless, because that's as far as it goes. So it will actually, as it fills up, it builds up pressure, it'll seal that up tight. So, and we're going to do the same thing now. We're going to do it with the carbon filter. So that's this guy. It looks like that. So see, there was a big difference in what the filters look like. So even when you do get them, you'll see they're labeled. So this one is your carbon, and the other one is your sediment. So your carbon one will go second, and your sediment one will go first. So there you go. We're going to put it in now. There, so we got the carbon one in now, and as I said, just give it a little snug up, give it a push up till she seats in, and then you just give her a little bit of a turn till it's seated right there. And you might hear a little bit of hissing because you're pushing air through it. Don't worry about it. Nothing to be concerned about. So anyways, now on to the next step. Okay, now we're going to change the reverse osmosis membrane. So that's this guy in here. And this is a supply. So you're going to want to all you're going to do is you're going to push up. See that little O-ring? The wee O-ring there? You're going to push it up until it releases, and then you just pull this down, and then you can turn this guy off. You should be able to do it by hand, but if not, of course, you've got your trusty oil wrench that will help you get that turned off. So anyways, that's the next step. But make sure you don't turn the water on yet. Remember, the water's still shut off because you just changed these two, your sediment and your carbon. So now you're going to change the reverse osmosis membrane. So anyways, that'll be the next step. We'll get that off. Okay, now that you got the cap off of that membrane, which is this guy here, again, there's a rubber ring in there and there's one there. Make sure you don't lose those because, yeah, then you're not going to get a seal. You have water everywhere. So what you're going to do now is take your handy dandy pocket tool here, like everybody should carry with them if you own a home, or, well, anybody. And there's going to be some water that comes out with that, like that. So what I recommend, get yourself a bucket and a mop because you might need it. And so when you pull that out, there, you'll see inside the tube like that. So that one's a little harder to wash out because you'd have to take it all apart. You can. So I just want to show you something. So see the color of that water? That is exactly why you want to change your filters, because that mud, what we call water, that actually comes from the township. So this house is on municipal water, but that's still the water that you'll be drinking. So with the RO, you're not drinking all that garbage. You're cleaning it all out. So anyways, you could, if you want to take that all apart, you can. It just slides off, and then you have to take this guy off right there. It's just compression fit. So, and then you can take that and wash it all out. So, and anyways, make sure that you have your membrane handy dandy, already ordered and in place and ready to slide in. Again, make sure you take the plastic off because it doesn't work if you don't. Okay, now that you've got this hand tightened on and you see it's seated right tight there, do not use a wrench on that. And then all you're going to do is take your little supply line there, because it's compression fit, and you're just going to snug it back in there, and you'll feel it because it'll stop. It just goes, you can feel it, trust me. When you put it in, you'll know when it's in. Well, and the other thing is too, is if it's leaking, you know it's not seated proper. But they're so simple. It's nothing complicated. And again, to take them off, all you're doing is pushing that little O-ring. You can either use your fingers to try and do it, or you can get tools that do it too if you're having trouble. So there we go. Now we're gonna get ready to flush the system. Okay, now that it's all ready to go, what you're gonna do is you're going to turn this valve back on, your pressure tank. This is your storage tank here, and it is also pressurized too. I think there's like 5 pounds in here, 5 pounds psi. It's not, yeah, here you go, right there. See, 5 to 7 psi. You don't want to have it too much higher because, well, I don't know why. They just say don't. So maybe you'll blow your tank up or blow these lines out. Listen, I'm not a water expert by any means. I'm just a homeowner who likes to do his own thing. Just like you. You want to save some money? Do it yourself. So I also put this valve on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that off. Then I'm going to go back upstairs to underneath the sink, and I'm going to turn the water supply on there, and then come back down here so I can monitor this so it doesn't leak, because I can't be in 2 places at once. At least I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, now you can shut your spigot valve off, and then you could go underneath your sink and you can turn that valve back on. Okay, now that you've turned your water supply back on underneath the sink because it's convenient, then you're going to come down, and if you have one of these inline valves, you're going to turn that back on, and then make sure again that this on your tank is on. And then what you're going to do is when you turn that on, turn this on very slowly, so then you'll watch the water rise up in this first one, and then you'll see it rise up in this one. Sometimes you'll hear a bit of hissing sound in these things as they fill up because it's pushing air out, and the same with this guy, it'll push some air out. And then you'll hear it gurgling in this guy here because it's filling up with water. Now what you can do is that little button that's up there on top, you might want to give that a little push because it will actually help push the air out. And the same with this one. You might see when you push that little button back there, the release valve, that little release button, that you might see a little bit of water come out of there, and that's perfectly fine. Just don't hold it down so water sprays out. As soon as you hear the air hiss out, then you know it's good. And sometimes these guys will leak just a tiny bit. And in my experiences from changing these many times, is they actually, after maybe 15 minutes or an hour or something like that, they actually stop leaking. So the other thing is too, is some guys will change, see that little ring there, that rubber ring? that O-ring, they change them every single time. And there's actually there's a material like a, looks like silicone or actually looks like Vaseline, and they put that around the ring to help seal it up better. But I find that you can reuse these, and yeah, sometimes they leak for a little bit, but I only got maybe half a dozen drips out of each one, and then they just sealed up. But anyways, yeah, just keep an eye on it, and that's why I put a little bucket underneath there, just in case. And as you can see, there's nothing in there. It's bone dry. So there was a few drips, but it's all good now. So anyways, then you can turn this right back on full again, and you're good to go. And that's when you go and you flush the system again, and so you'll see that in the next step. Okay, now that your water supply is back on, you can make sure that this is off, because see, there's not very much water that's coming out of it. Now you have to build up pressure in the tank, and you also want to make sure there's no leaks in there, which there's not. Nice and dry. And what you're going to do is you're going to wait for an hour, let that tank fill up, the pressure tank fill up, and then you're going to come upstairs. You're going to turn wherever, whether it's underneath your sink or upstairs, downstairs, whatever, turn that on. And when that stops dripping, or almost stops dripping, like there's just a trickle out of it, you're going to shut it off again, and then you're going to go back and you're going to let it fill up again, about an hour or two, and then you're going to drain it. Drain that tank 4 or 5 times. Because there's a bit of sediment, carbon, and you don't want to be drinking that. So you want to make sure that it's completely drained at least 4 or 5 times, and follow your manufacturer's recommendations. But that's what I do, and then I know the water's good to go. All right, congratulations, you've just changed your filters in your RO system for the first time probably since you own a house or in the last couple of years. So anyways, seems simple, but it is. And anyways, until next time, have fun.